The following presentation may cause confusion, anxiety, and/or outrage. It may be considered blasphemy or heresy when viewed by conventional physics. Please see your physicist if these symptoms persist. Let's consider Professor Einstein's most famous equation, E equals mc squared. Energy is equal to mass multiplied by the speed of light squared. This equation doesn't allow anything to move faster than the speed of light, because as an object with mass approaches the speed of light, it requires an infinite amount of energy to accelerate it further. This universal speed limit is only true if you consider time to be a constant. Let's rewrite the equation to better define the speed of light as distance divided by time. Since speed is a combination of distance traveled divided by time, a variable, the universal speed limit can now be recognized as a variable. Essentially, Einstein was measuring the speed of light with an elastic yardstick. We can observe the bending of light waves in water or a glass medium. This occurs because when the wave front enters a medium of different density at an angle, the speed of the wave front is slowed disproportionately. One part of the wave is slowed before the other. This phenomenon is called refraction. We are all familiar with this phenomenon with refractor telescopes, binoculars, and even eyeglasses. When Professor Einstein tried to consolidate the EMF and gravitational force in his search for the theory of everything, the gravitational bending of light and the concept of the fabric of space-time was invoked. In 1919, Arthur Eddington observed that light from distant stars passing by the sun during a solar eclipse appeared to have been slightly bent or refracted, so that the stars appeared out of position. This stellar displacement was held as proof of gravitational lensing. The lensing effect of a gravitational bulge in the atmosphere, similar to the gravitational bulge of the high tides, during a total eclipse has not been accounted for. Everyone saw the predicted results and quit looking for any alternate explanations, declaring the theory of relativity confirmed, and the emperor is indeed grandly attired. If, however, an object has a concentration of mass, a gravitational field, and a ChronoForce field will be observed. Large stars have been observed to radiate concentrations of magnetic fields, gravitation fields, X-rays, and gamma particles. Any light wave transiting those fields will be altered with the lensing effect of the ChronoForce field. As the wave front passes through the varying flux density in the ChronoForce field, it will be slowed disproportionately, in much the same way that light is refracted by a magnifying glass. We will find that, just as the gravitational force is being explored and defined, we too must re-explore and redefine how gravity and the ChronoForce change the effects on light and any other matter moving in their vicinity to bring some order to our understanding of our universe. We know that even the measurable speed of light is not fixed. It slows down in anything other than a vacuum. The apparent velocity of light through air is slower than the speed of light in a vacuum. The apparent velocity of light through glass is slower still. This is caused by light, the EMF, and ChronoForce interacting with the mass of the medium through which it is traveling. As the mass, or gravitation, of the medium increases, the ChronoForce also increases, making the velocity or distance divided by time appear to decrease. Essentially, in order to exceed the speed of light, you only have to remember that time is a variable force, not a dimension. As it stands today, the theory of quantum mechanics proclaims that one can't predict the order of the universe at the subatomic scale. According to quantum mechanics, the best we can do is predict the chance or probability of a particular outcome. The quantum theory further concludes that since one particular outcome cannot be assured, all possible outcomes must exist. This extension leads to the concept of multiple dimensions of reality. These extrapolations come from a failure to consider that some parameters previously thought constant may in fact be variables. This is like trying to consistently bake a cake without using the same amounts of ingredients, or temperature, or baking time for each attempt. If one has no knowledge of the effects of ChronoForce present at the atomic or subatomic scale, one can never be assured of consistent outcome, only a probability. Quantum physicists would have us believe that photons of light are released when electrons instantaneously move from one valence orbit to another around the nucleus of an atom. When we realize how much empty space there is inside an atom, and how far the electrons are from the source of the ChronoForce and the gravitation force inside the atom's nucleus, the idea of instantaneous travel will be explained on a more rational level than just trust us. In reality, even though the conventional wisdom in the physics world doesn't want to admit it, the instantaneous travel between valence levels would be, by definition, faster than the speed of light. I like to call it a photonic boom, much like the acoustic phenomena when a jet travels faster than the speed of sound. We are familiar with the principle of entropy. This is the concept that without the input of external force, all processes disintegrate into randomness. At an atomic level, this process has been called the nuclear weak force. It is, however, a result of the ChronoForce interacting with the mass of an object, causing decay of the atom, and thereby releasing energy. Those atoms with a heavier mass, plutonium, uranium, and many others, have a tendency to be more unstable than the lighter atoms. Those atoms with a heavier atomic structure have a shorter half-life. The greater the mass, the more rapid the process of ChronoForce generated entropy. There are other factors affecting the stability of the atom, but until now the effect of the ChronoForce has been unrecognized. Astronomers found in the first half of the 20th century that the universe is expanding thanks to the work of Edwin Hubble. Recent measurements have not only confirmed those measurements, but indicate that the expansion appears to be accelerating. This observation has alarming implications for the speed of light limitation. Cosmologists and astronomers are trying to explain what kind of energy or force might be the source of this acceleration. They refer to dark energy, false vacuum, and a cosmological constant to explain this observed acceleration. The explanation will be simple when we recognize that time, or ChronoForce, is not the same in all frames of reference. It is really not surprising that Saul Perlmutter found different speeds for the Type 1a supernovas that he studied. We should all be able to recognize that light slows down in denser material. While when Edwin Hubble did his observations at the Mount Wilson Observatory, he was at about 5,700 feet altitude, still a pretty thick atmosphere. Whereas Saul Perlmutter made his observations at the Keck Observatory in Hawaii at 13,600 feet, a much thinner atmosphere. This would mean less slowing of the received light at the higher altitude, also farther away from the Earth's center of gravity and center of ChronoForce. Western culture is heavily influenced by early Greek philosophy. It is not surprising that when the Platonic ideal of uniform circular motion for the heavens and planetary harmony was presented, its elegant simplicity was accepted as fact. Astronomers spent the next 2,000 years trying to fit their theories of planetary and solar motion into the perfect ring of uniform circular motion. Not until science examined the assumptions of previous astronomers and tweaked the theory from perfect circles to allow ellipses and a heliocentric solar system did the predictions agree with observations. For us to assume that time is constant throughout the universe is like someone in San Francisco or New York proclaiming that water always boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 degrees centigrade, without ever having boiled water in Denver or observing temperatures of the black smoker vents at the bottom of the ocean. This new hypothesis is not meant to tear down either of two very great theories of physics, quantum mechanics or relativity. It is presented to open up the conversation and possibly explain the apparent conflict between them due to the heretofore unrecognized effect of the variability of time, ChronoForce. To proclaim there are only four fundamental forces in the universe: EMF, gravity, strong nuclear force, and weak nuclear force, is as arrogant as the early Greeks in proclaiming there are only four elements: water, earth, air, and fire in the universe. We must remain open to all new concepts and test them rigorously for accuracy. The ChronoForce hypothesis looks at Einstein's theory of relativity and tweaks it to include the variability of time as a force, rather than the traditional concept of time as a constant dimension. There will be as much resistance to the ChronoForce concept as there was to retiring the flat Earth theory and the geocentric universe theory. In the end, the elegance and simplicity of the ChronoForce will win out. We will look at its simplicity and symmetry and wonder, how could anyone ever have thought otherwise? Thanks for watching this presentation about the ChronoForce hypothesis part 2. For more information on the subject, visit www.chronoforce.com.